Hello, sweet souls. My name is Sarah Monroe, Sassy Sarah Monroe if you're nasty. And I'm a wild witch and I love doing wild witch things. And on this channel, we're learning how to become honorable ancestors by studying the esoteric, by learning to live closer to Mama Earth, and by doing any other wild and weird witchy things we can think of. On today's episode, we're going to learn how to build our own ceremony or ritual in 10 steps or less. Now, to get us started, it's important to know the difference between a ceremony and a ritual. The terms kind of are used interchangeably, but they can mean completely different things. Ceremonies tend to take place on special occasions, such as celebrating the equinoxes or the solstices. So, once or twice a year, we have bigger events to celebrate the turning of the page, the turning of the season. While rituals that can be a part of ceremonies, rituals though tend to be more of an everyday magic. And that can look like having coffee with your ancestors every morning, like I do. I speak my ancestors' name and I pour them a cup of coffee. Or perhaps it's a daily prayer. So rituals happen more often, while ceremonies tend to happen once, twice a year, or even it can be a celebration of your birthday, and it can also be weddings. So it can hopefully be once in a lifetime, but who am I here to judge? Nobody. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to build a ritual. A lot of the times when you are new to the practice of witchcraft through any lens, really, sometimes you just want someone to sit you down and go, give me the instructions. And so that's what we're going to try to do today. Who am I? Who am I to tell you all these things? I am a practicing witch. I used to call myself an eclectic witch with a touch of chaos. I very much align with granny and folk magic, but I just call myself a witch and I love to learn the ancient ways. And I'm always searching for more ancient offerings. And those tend to be a little bit harder to find simply because a lot of those traditions were passed on orally. So I'm going to teach you what I've been taught. I've been taught by some amazing teachers, both fantastic and wonderful, and also the ones that taught me how I didn't want to teach. And those are also gifts as well. So let's get started and talk about how to build our rituals in 10 step or ceremonies in 10 steps or less. So one of the most important things that I want to tell you to have is going to be a journal of some sort. I call this the recipe book. This is my recommendation. So there's the term a spell book or a grimoire. Everybody likes to say things differently. That is your completed version. So I like to call this a recipe book, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. So when we want to build our ritual, step number one, why am I kneeling at my altar? Now, what does your altar look like? It can be something out in nature. It can be something that you build in your home. It can be many different things. The thing above me is an altar. This can be an altar. My entertainment center can be an altar. I can have an ancestral altar somewhere else. You can have altars all through your home. And then the question is going to be, what altar am I working with if I have different versions of them? And then what altars do I need to create? Because it can be something that you can create specifically for the ceremony or spell or ritual. So, what is the reason why I'm coming to my altar is step number one. It could be something as simple as I need more money, abundance magic, money magic. Because, I could tell you more people in the world who don't need money than I could that do need money. So every extra dollar coin in your pocket is always really good to work towards. It could be wanting to find a divine companion. It could be wanting to have a community. It could be calling in the rain. It could be calling in self-love. There's so many different reasons why we come to our altar. It can simply be a thank you, a gratitude, coming to the altar for a specific goddess that you may be working with, God, Goddess, the Great Mystery, and just simply saying thank you. Thank you for letting me come to the altar for you every day. I'm going to do this ceremony in honor of you. So number one, what is the reason? Why am I coming to you? Why am I kneeling at my altar? Reason number two, or not reason number two, step number two is method. Why or what am I going to do to create the magic? Okay. So I'm going to, for the purpose of this video, we're going to build a ritual based off of financial abundance. That'll be what our aim is. But what's the method that I'm going to use? Am I going to use, am I going to create a money bowl? Am I going to create candle magic? Am I going to work with a specific deity that you can work with when calling in financial abundance? Am I going to work with the moon cycle and the different phases that she's in? Am I going to specifically work with colors? So there's different methods and modalities of how you can create your magic. Today we're going to keep it really simple. We're going to keep it in the basics. As you can see, I kind of a little bit maybe have an obsession. So we're going to use candle magic today. So what is the reason why I'm coming to my altar? Financial abundance. What method am I going to use? Candle magic. Now, next we're going to move into the recipe, which is why we need this book. So this book is going to be our working book. This book is going to be what allows us to record the magic that we're doing and how we're doing it, when we're doing it, why we're doing it, all those things. So what is my recipe? I'm going to start by opening my recipe book up, and I'm going to put down today's date, which I'm not going to mention because hopefully this video is always here so it can work with whatever date. But I'm going to put today's date down. You know, I had a feeling when I picked up this pen, it was not going to work. So I'm glad that I brought a secondary writing utensil. How funny. You know, sometimes you just know. Okay, so I'm putting down the date. I'm also going to put down the type of day it was. Was it a sunshiny day? Was it cloudy? Was it cool? Was it rainy? So it was a warm-ish day. It is springtime for me in this year of 2025. And I'm also going to put down the phase of the moon. Now, I looked this up earlier, so please don't think that I always know what phase of the moon that we're in, although I really do try to be aware of it. And we are currently in the waning moon. Now, this can be a completely separate video. And what I mean by that, there's just so many ways to do rituals, to do ceremonies. Now, if you're in an initiated practice such as voodoo or any close practices, we're just going to say that period, any close practices that you have not been initiated into, please respect the boundaries and do not utilize magic from those close practices. If you have been initiated in it, then I'm not the one that you're going to be learning from, right? Because even if I was initiated in those practices, I would not be teaching you here on a video. We are here for the basics. We're here to get really into it and learn step by step together. I have no idea where I was going with that. So I'm just going to pick up where I left off because I can get off on some tangents when it comes to my teaching and talking. So, shit, where was I? I'm just going to bring us back to the lesson. Please don't do anything inside an initiated practice if you are not inside of that close practice. It's inappropriate. And you also might not know what energies you're messing with. So please stick to absolute basics. For example, I will give you this. I am not a Wiccan. That's not the practice that I utilize. So the things that I offer to you right now in this moment, you could be like, but that's not how I do it. If you're a practicing Wiccan, and that's perfect. Do exactly what feels best to you. You know your body, your heart, your mind, your soul better than anyone. And intuitively, you will know what is appropriate for certain practices, unless, again, you know them to be a close practice. Please respect that. Okay. So, and I think the reason why I kind of got off on this, this, this whole thing was because there's so many different layers that you can create inside of a practice. So working with, for example, I'm putting down that it's the waning moon. That means it's going into its new moon phase. Waning for me and my heart is the set it and forget it. So what I can do right now in this moment with this waning moon, if I wanted to work inside that practice, is instead of calling in abundance, I can do a ritual or spell, a ceremony to say, what is it that I need to release? What beliefs do I need to release? What is my ego holding on to that is keeping me from having a financial abundant mindset. That can be one of the ways that we work with this. So, just so that you know that there are so many different levels and layers of being able to do a practice uh, when you're building it. So I want to come back to our recipe book. So I've recorded the date, I've recorded the type of day it is. I can even record what season we're in. It is the spring season. Looking at the date will let me know that, but sometimes depending on where you're living, that's not necessarily what it is for you. I live in a region where I get to experience all 4 seasons, and that for me and my heart and my practice, it affects the way that I do practice because I practice very deeply alongside the energies of Mama Earth. So I've got my date, the type of date was what season we're in, the what type of moon we're in, and then I'm going to now write that I'm doing candle magic for financial abundance. And this is your recipe book. Look, don't judge me. Don't judge me. You're not here to read my work, but this is the book to be messy in because we buy these beautiful leather bound beautifully made paper books to make our spell books in. And while we can be messy in that, that's perfect. Everybody's exactly as it should be, or everybody's practice is exactly how it should be. But what you can do is you can write down the method and the madness in this book and then beautifully transcribe it into your spell book. Okay, so the recipe. What modalities am I using? What tools am I using? I guess is the more appropriate term. How will I layer my spell? How am I going to layer my recipe? So I've got candle magic. So then the next question is, what color candle am I working with? Most of us think of green when working with money magic, but I could also do gold or even silver, or perhaps in my heart, when I think about yellow, that can mean money for me for whatever reason. It doesn't have to make sense to other people, it has to make sense to you. So some people might see red as a very passionate, lustful color, very flame and igniting, but some people might feel like that about blue. So what color works for you inside of your practice? It could be the standard green, gold, silver to start with. And then maybe one day you're doing something and suddenly you see another color and you're like, oh, that's what that means to me. So for this practice, I am just going to do a simple green candle. Now, if I am a witch on a budget and I don't have access to a green candle, white is perfectly fine. White is void of all color, so that means the possibilities are endless, and so it contains all colors. And again, if my heart says that and yours doesn't, that's perfect. But work with what works for your heart and your budget because we have to be realistic. Not everything is as accessible to one witch as it is to another. And also, I use the term witch. You absolutely do not have to use that language if it does not sit right with you, especially if you're in an area or a region where saying that word is not safe, or even if just your family makes you not feel safe. Choose a word that feels the best for you and just go with that. It's perfect, perfect exactly as it is. Okay, so I've chosen that I'm doing candle magic for financial abundance and I'm using a green candle. Now, how do I want to ignite my magic inside of my recipe? Am I going to, inside of the recipe of writing the ritual? This is writing the ritual, is what we're doing. Am I going to choose to sing over it? Am I going to speak over it? Am I going to pray over it? Am I going to drum over it? Dance over it? Chant over it? What else can I do? Can I make sigils and carve it into it? Or maybe just a letter or a rune if that's inside your practice? Will I use oils on it? So let's decide that right here. So I'm going to use a green candle. I'm going to make a sigil. I will add an anointing oil to it. And inside my spell work itself, I will dance to boost my energy. I will dance and then I will chant over it. Okay. If I choose to chant. So this is the one of the steps that is completely optional. Do I want to chant? Do I want to pray? Do I want to sing? And if I want to chant or pray or sing, what is it that I want to say? Let's see. Let's just do something super simple. Every dollar that I spend comes back to me times 10. So I'm going to write that down. Every dollar that I spend comes back to me times 10. Now, it's a really good thing that nobody else is supposed to be reading this because you can't read it. But that's okay because it's meant for me, right? But even sometimes we can't even read our own handwriting. Now, will this be something that we chant? It could also be something that we could write down on a piece of paper. This could be what I base my sigil on. Uh, we can write it down on a piece of paper in the complete sentence form. We can carve the sigil on the candle. On that piece of paper, we can ignite it and give it to the flames and cast the smoke out into the world. We can take the ashes along with the oils that we use to anoint our candle, and we can draw that sigil on our body. There are so many different things that you could do that can ignite magic. And I mean, all of that could be one ceremony ritual by itself, or those can be all individual ceremonies or rituals. The possibilities are just absolutely endless. To keep it simple, I will dance to raise my vibrations. I will chant every dollar that I spend comes back to me times 10. I will base my sigil off of that. I will carve my sigil into the candle. I will anoint it with the oil and then I will light it on fire. And then I will probably also add the chant on a piece of paper and add it to the flames. Now, when working with flames, when working with anything that has to do with fire, what do? We stay in front of it at all times. It is in our purview at all times, which is why choosing your candle can be really important. For example, little chime candles, they're candles about this big. Using those usually last maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. You could also choose to get tea lights. Those usually last 2 hours, but they're a bit safer burning because you can put them into containers. But if you get a full tapered candle or even a 7-day candle, those are things that you have to make the conscious decision of, I am going to have this burning in my presence to keep safety everywhere, right? If you choose to get a 7-day candle, you can let it burn for a certain amount of time each day and then come back to it. And so that's building the magic daily. That can be an option for you. You can even do this with those little chime, with any candles. You can get those little chime candles, and every day for X amount of period, you can come back to it every day and do your chanting and your ritual and your prayer and your dancing. Or you can do all of that at the beginning and then just simply come back and chant and carve and light the candle on fire. Hopefully, I'm not going too fast because I have recorded this many times and I just want to complete it because I have wanted to do this for a really long time. So, okay, so we have our chant. Now, step 5 is the tools. What will we use? Clearly, we've already discussed half of them. We're going to need writing utensils. We're going to need a piece of paper. We'll need a green candle. We'll need the anointing oil, and then that also includes your clothing. So you can simply just come exactly as you are. However you want to be seen is perfect. Or you can specifically set aside or create ritual clothing. Now, this isn't something that you have to rush out to the store, get online, find. This is something that you can build up over time. It can be a necklace that you've had forever and you feel very special when you wear it, so you put that on. One day you find a bracelet that you feel is a part of your esoteric practice. You start to wear that. One day you were gifted a scarf and you know exactly when you're going to wear it. It's in ritual, things like that. Now, what I will wear because we're actually going to do this video together, this is going to be a completely separate video of actually doing the magic. You will see me wear different clothing than what I would wear if we were in person doing ceremony together. It's for two different reasons. A, it's just protection because that's very sacred to me. The clothing that I wear is extremely sacred to me inside of ceremony. And that particular outfit, I like to be able to look into the eyes of the people that I'm working with when I do the magic, or that when we do the magic, because it's a collective thing, right? So that's mainly why I choose to do that, because certain things deserve to be sacred to me in my practice, just like things deserve to be sacred to you in your practice. Okay, we have our tools. So we have, it could be robes, a dress, a suit, jewelry, staff, even. So you want to collect your tools. So for the ritual itself, plus the clothing that you're going to wear, those will be a part of your tool set. And then now we're going to choose how we're going to cleanse the space. Please, please, please do research, especially if you are not of Indigenous, American Indigenous descent. Please do your research as to the difference between the language of cleansing and smudging, because there is a difference. And while they can be interchangeable, just like ceremony and ritual, they are not the same. And it's inappropriate, in my opinion, for anybody who's not in those types of close practices to utilize language that there's no need to utilize it. But we only know what we know until we know different. And that's when we get the opportunity to do different. So smoke cleansing, or cleansing in general, is the most appropriate term for the world over. However, we don't have to necessarily do smoke cleansing. And this is a really important distinction. First of all, please, if you have not grown it yourself, or if it's not been gifted to you, please don't burn white sage or Palo Santos. It is being over harvested. And plus, they're inside of sacred indigenous practices. There's so much available to be able to use in smoke cleansing, such as rose or cedar or rosemary, peppermint, eucalyptus. There's so many different things. Lavender. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's so many different herbs that we can use to burn inside of cleansing rituals. There's no reason for us to use something that doesn't belong to all of us. So that's my soapbox and my 2 cents. You can take it or leave it. I hope you take it, but I also respect your decision to an extent. But we think cleansing, or you can even just use simply, you probably can't see it because I try to be moody in my video. You can even just use an incense stick as your smoke cleansing. But that's not available for everybody. Some people either can't have smoke in the area that they're in for whatever reason, because it could be a non-smoking place, or the space that you're in has requested you don't use incense for whatever reason. Maybe you have asthma, maybe you just have a reason why you can't be around a lot of smoke. So what else can we do? We can use things like liquid cleansers. There's a tool called Florida water. Whole big history on that. I tend to make my own Florida water. It's super, super simple. And that can be a separate video that we do. But Florida water can be an option for cleansing, and that can be a cleansing of the physical space that looks a little bit different than smoke cleansing. It could be cleansing of the physical body, and it could be cleansing of your tools. You can use oils to cleanse, but that tends to be for my heart, for my practice, that tends to be a little more for the anointing of the body, or the anointing of the method or modality that we're going to utilize in our spiritual esoteric practice. Let's see. Oh, there's also, you can use essential oils. We're modern witches. We can utilize the tools that are available for us. So you can do something like using a diffuser and using essential oils inside of that. That's absolutely an option. You can also use music as vibration. Vibration cleansing is something that is a tool for us. So singing, chanting, dancing, playing an instrument absolutely is an opportunity for you to try something new, to be able to cleanse and clear the space of the energies that you don't want inside of it. Okay. I've talked a lot, so we're going to go back to the beginning and start with step number one, just to make sure that we're all together. Number one, we've got the reason why we're here. Number two is we've got our method, such as candle magic. That's what we're using today. Number three is we've written down our recipe and how we're going to do our magic. Number four is the option of, am I going to chant something? Am I going to pray something? And if I am, what is that thing? Number five is the tools. That includes, for this instance, the candles, the oils, uh, the piece of paper that I'm going to write down my chant on and then feed it to the flames. And that also includes my clothing, my dress, and my jewelry, things like that. I've chosen what my cleansing modality will be, and I'll decide that. No, we'll decide it now. What is it going to be? What are we going to do? What are we going to choose? Oh, there's also spray cleansers. That is very popular these days, is spray cleansers as well. Um, let's use rose as our smoke cleansing. You think that you'll remember. I promise you. You'll think that you'll remember. You won't remember what you do. So it is important that you record it. Absolutely. Okay. Now it's time to choose, how am I going to protect myself, the person, place, or thing that I'm in. So this is going to be how we cast our circle, how we close it off from the outside forces and inviting in only what we want. You can do something just as simple as calling in the energies of the north, east, south, and west. You can call in God, Goddess, the Great Mystery if you're working with a specific deity. You can call in your guardian angels. You can call in the elements. So it's not within my practice, but for example, in the Chinese medicine system, they have wood and metal that you don't typically see in a lot of other practices. That doesn't call to my heart, but I just want to offer that there are many different ways and things that you can do to cast your circle. And it can be something as simple as, I call in the power of the north, the mountains, the earth, bring your strength to my circle. I call in the powers of the east, the air, the knowledge. I invite you to my circle. I call in the energies and the powers of the south, the fires, the flames, the transmutation. Please bring your power to my circle. I call in the powers of the west, the waters, the flow, the surrender. Please bring your powers to my circle. Now, what you noticed is that I start with the north. There are a lot of people who, in their practice, they start with the east. There's a lot of people where the elements are switched. So, Southern American shamanic practices, their elements are switched compared to practice that I do, which tends to be in the vein of granny folk and in long term in Celtic magic, because that is my lineage and that's what feels most appropriate to me, and it's what my heart calls to the most. So fiddle around and find out what feels best for you, calling in the east first or calling in the north. North for me just feels like I'm building the foundation of my circle, and that's what I like to call in. You can also call in your ancestors. I do a lot of ancestral work. I call in my crones, I call in the keepers. And if this is your first time working with it, just simply write down a simple north, east, south, west, or again, how whatever feels the most appropriate for you, and know that you can build onto it at any time, and know that sometimes when you're actually in the practice, you might suddenly verbalize something that you've never done before, and you're like, yes, I need to remember that to write down. And when you're inside your own personal ceremony or ritual, it is a-okay, a-okay for you to stop and write something down. When you're in group, sometimes it feels weird and awkward if you stop and you do something. Have no fears. Do exactly what you need to do in your time. It is your practice. That's the most important thing. Okay, so we've chosen who we're going to call in. We've chosen the elements that we're going to call in, the way that we're going to call it in, and we've written it down on in our recipe book, because what you can do is look at your recipe and call it out exactly as you've written it. It's so important for you to make your magic feel in your body real. It's important that you feel confident. And for you to feel confident takes practice. Everything takes practice. That famous video that was going around a few years ago, practice doesn't make perfection, it makes improvement. And I cannot get behind saying more. Practice makes improvement. There is going to be a day. It won't be your first time, might not be your second time, but maybe by your 10th time, you're going to remember the way that you call in and you're going to feel it in your bones. You're going to look back at the younger version of you, however many days, weeks, months, years in the past it was, and you're going to go, look how good we got, right? That is so important. Read what you've written for you to feel confident so that you know that you're doing what makes you feel the most sovereign, the most autonomous. That is so important. Okay, so we've collected the reason why we're here. We have collected our tools, what we're going to chant, the way that we're going to do it. We've written down that we're going to do candle magic with the green magic. I'm going to create a sigil. That sigil is going to be drawn into my candle. Then I'm going to anoint my candle. Once I anoint my candle, I am going to light it on fire. I'm going to take down the written word of every dollar that I spend comes back to me times 10. I'm going to feed it to the flames. Then I'm going to capture those flames in a flame safe vessel, especially, I mean, no matter where you're at, it doesn't matter where you're at. You need to be safe with your flame. You put it in a vessel that's safe to contain that. If I want to, I will take a little bit of that anointing oil and mix it in with my ash, write that sigil on my body where it feels the most appropriate. But I skipped a part. Did I want to dance? Did I want to sing? Did I want to chant? Am I going to chant as I light and as I burn and as I anoint? All of these things. So we're in the ritual. We're in the ritual part. And we're going to be fully and we're going to be focused. And the thing that I want you to keep in mind, a lot of the times we work through our practices wanting to believe that what we're doing is real. I want you to feel that what you are doing is real. Feel it in your bones. An example that I really like to use, and this is not original to me, example that I really like to use is close your eyes, take some deep belly breaths. Working with the spell that we've created in this video together, working with financial abundance. Imagine that somebody handed you a check for $5 million, something crazy. And go big, go big. Believe in the big. Now, I want you to imagine that you've taken that check, you see your name written on it. And if mental pictures are a little bit difficult for you, imagine how it would feel. Well, I want everybody to imagine how it would feel inside of your body to get handed a check worth $5 million. How would the weight lift from your body knowing that all of your financial worries are over? How would you feel knowing that every debt you've ever had can be paid off and you can still afford to get yourself a home, provide for your family or friends if that's what you want to do with that money? How would that weight feel off of your shoulders, off of your back, off of the joints of your body? Now imagine you're taking that check and you're taking it to the bank. And of course, it's a $5 million check. It's going to take a few days for it to go through. But what would it feel like in those days in the in between, that liminal space, that time between having that check in your hand and having that cash in your bank account? What would that feel like? That anticipation, that joy, that giddiness, that beauty of knowing that you'll never have to worry again? What would that feel like inside of your body when you're moving through your practices, no matter what the method, no matter what you're trying to aim for? If you're looking for a companion, a lover, a divine, sacred person that you can walk this life with, what would it feel like to actually be in partnership with that person? What would it feel like if you're aching for community and you're calling in community? What would it feel like to have that community, the righteous, the right community, the loving community, the safe and soft community? What would that feel like in your body? That's what I want you to aim for when you're trying, when you're not trying, when you are in your active ritual ceremony. How does it feel? That is what I want you to aim for. That's what I ask you. My recommendation. Take it or leave it. You can leave it, but I hope you take it. After we complete our ritual, and again, the way that I've built mine just to refresh what we're doing is I am calling in the circle. I am singing, dancing, playing an instrument to raise my vibrations. I'm taking my green candle and I'm carving the sigil inside of it that I've already predetermined. I've already created it. I will anoint the candle with the oils, and this can be abundance oil that you create yourself. It can be something that you purchase from someone else. It can just simply be the oil that you look at and you go, you're going to be my financial abundance oil. That's all it takes. That's all it needs to be. We're going to anoint the candle. We're going to light the candle. And as we're anointing and carving and lighting, we're seeing every dollar that I spend comes back to me times 10. Every dollar that I spend comes back to me times 10. Keep repeating that over and over until you feel satiated, until I feel satiated. And then we're going to take the piece of paper that we've written on either during the ritual or before it, because sometimes we can be pre-prepared if we want to be. We're going to take that piece of paper and we're going to feed it to the flames. We're going to allow that to be transmuted and alchemized into new magic smoke, and then ash. And then we're going to take that ash and the abundance oil and we're going to mix just a little bit together, and we'll take that ash and that abundance oil and we'll write the sigil on our body where it feels most appropriate. And then if your body feels like doing anything else, your body, mind, heart, spirit feels like doing anything else, more dancing, more singing, more chanting, more gratitude, more grace, whatever feels like it needs to do it. And then we're going to close our circle or open it back up. Some people like to say that when you cast your circle at the beginning, you're opening your circle. And some people like to say that you're closing your circle because you're closing off any of the outside forces. I'll let that be your choice. And then at the end, you could close your circle, meaning that you've closed the magic in that sacred space, or you can say you're opening the circle because you're going to go back out to the world. Again, I will let that be your choice because it's not my practice, it's your practice. We will open it up by giving grace and gratitude to the people we have called in: God, Goddess, the great mystery, our guardian angels, our ancestors, the four corners, the energies, the elements. We will say, thank you. You may go. All of those corners, however, and you want to undo in the opposite direction, or that's my recommendation, is to undo in the opposite direction. So if I start in the north and I end in the west, I will open my circle. I will uncast my circle by starting in the west and moving back around to the north. That's how I do it. You always want to leave a gratitude and a thanks. And if you are working with a particular deity, or even perhaps just working with the energies of Mama Earth, you can always offer something in gratitude to them. And if it's a particular deity that likes spiced rum, you can leave them spiced rum. You can do that inside your ritual as well. There's so many layers. There's so many ways to build your ritual. But we need to start somewhere, because we can read all of the books, we can read, listen to all of the podcasts, we can watch all of the videos, but we will not learn. Truly, we will not learn until we do. Doing is where learning happens. Doing is where the magic happens. Doing is where we learn, oh, that I didn't like the way that that worked, or it brought me results I was not anticipating. I did not like those results. So how can I refine and how can I reflect and refine? That's the question. How can I reflect and refine on what this spell did? Which brings us into step number 10, a reflection. So what you can do is you can give yourself a period of time. If you're working with the phases of the moon, you can give yourself a moon cycle. If you're working with the energies of the seasons, you can give yourself season to season. So for example, if you cast a spell on the spring equinox, the vernal equinox, what does it look like at the autumnal equinox, the fall and the autumn? That's a 6-month period, the mirror of one another. Where does that reflection lie in between those seasons? Or maybe you're working with the zodiacs and you like the energy of, I'll just say Aries. You want to look at who's 6 months from Aries and look at the mirror of that and reflect on how did this spell, which is why it's so important that we record what we record, right? Wrong page. It's why it's so important we record what we record. We recorded the date, the spring, the energies. You can even record your personal being. Like, how were you going into this practice? Were you anxious? Were you excited? Were you welcoming? You can, if you are a menstruating body, were you bleeding? So important to record the day so that you can look back in reflection. And then if there is a moment, sometimes when we do spell work, we set it and forget it, and we don't even think twice about it, and we never touch it again, which is why it's important. It's a useful tool, I should say. This is not the end of the world. If you don't do this, it's not the end of the world. But it's a useful tool in that if we, let's say that with this financial abundance magic that I put a particular dollar sign with it. So let's say that I'm calling in, I need $10,000 and I need it right now. Did I get that $10,000? If I did, how did it happen? Did I get something less? Did I get something more? So in the reflection of coming back to the practice of coming back to the, I don't even know if I'm at the right angle, guys. I had to delete footage. It's fine. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to release perfection, which I am a recovering perfectionist. When coming back to the reflection, whenever that is that you choose, it could be 3, 6, 9, 12 months even. But if you know this is like a really big ceremony or a really big ritual, put a notification in your phone, like in your calendar, write, check spell book or check recipe book for this date to reflect on ceremony, ritual, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want it is to say, to remind yourself to go back and look. And then write down anything that happened. This didn't work because, or it did work, but I would like to make some changes, that type of thing. So again, I hope this helps. And I recorded the outro before I recorded this. So I'm just going to stop and I'm going to go to the outro that I already recorded. Okay, love you. Bye. All right, guys. The sun and my phone storage is telling me it's time to go. So I've left you with a lot of what I feel like is really good parting words. There are so many different ways that we can do this. There are so many different methods and modalities and medicines that can be used in creating magic. But again, we have to start somewhere. So I hope that you start with something that I offered you. Maybe it could be a brand new piece of magic, or maybe it could be your very first time, or maybe you're seasoned, but you heard something like, oh yeah, I never even thought about doing that. So I would absolutely love to hear down below in the comments what method you like to use for your magic. Maybe it could be a tip for someone brand new to the practice to utilize. Maybe it can be something that a seasoned old hag offered you. We will only be able to learn and grow when we share inside of community, inside of soft and sacred spaces. So I hope that that's what I offered for you today. And I will hopefully record the ritual that we created to upload within the next few days. And I would really love to hear if you did it yourself, and if so, if the magic happened for you. And yeah, I'll hope to see you next time. Bye.